Hello everyone and welcome back to the World Championship 2017. So this round we're doing Duel Links.
Duel Links!
I mean, tell us a bit about the way this tournament's going to work for Duel Links, because it's actually very different from the way the main event is progressing.
Yes, it's also very different than the qualifier itself. In the qualifier, players were able to qualify for the World Championship simply by using one deck, competing from the comfort of their own home using the ranked duel system. And the top ranked in each region was invited to compete in the World Championship here in Japan with accommodations and travel paid for. So duelists I spoke to actually in Duel Links were saying they did use multiple decks in that tournament, but they were able to use just one deck if that was the deck they thought was most powerful or that they were most comfortable with.
Sure.
This weekend, however, the format is different. Each player will be using 3 characters. Three legendary duelists. Each legendary duelist must have a different skill. For those familiar with Duel Links, you would know that many of the abilities, many of the skills that the characters can learn are unique to that particular character, while other skills, including some of the most popular skills, can be learned by every character. So there's a strategy element in choosing which 3 legendary duelists you're going to use and which skills you're going to accompany with each legendary duelist. In addition, since the qualifier, the format has changed a lot in Duel Links. There was a Super Joey event where players were able to get really powerful Red Eyes cards, including Red Eyes Spirit and Red Eyes Insight.
I've heard the Red Eyes deck is the talk of the town at the moment.
It is the talk of the town. In fact, one of the duelists that will be featuring in this coming round is using 2 Red Eyes decks for 2 of his characters with 2 different abilities. So
that's how good it is.
Yes.
You have to bring 3 decks. 2 of them are Red Eyes.
Yes. I think, in my personal opinion, the Red Eyes deck is strongest with the beatdown ability, and you can only use one character with the beatdown ability. So while he is using Kaiba with beatdown, he's also using the Paradox Brothers with restart.
Right.
So both Red Eyes decks, but different skills. So one should be stronger than the other, but he deems them both powerful enough to be used in his choice of 3 decks.
So what other kind of decks are we going to be seeing from these 2 guys in their lineups?
Samsung is using, as I mentioned, the 2 Red Eyes decks, using Kaiba with beatdown as well as Paradox Brothers with restart. They are fairly different builds. The restart ability, for anyone unfamiliar with that ability, is a once per duel ability. When you draw your opening hand, you can send it back to the deck to draw a new one. If you don't like it, you can replace it.
How many players in the TCG would want that, just out of interest?
I think it would be pretty popular in the trading card game. I think.
Where's my Maxi?
Yeah. The beatdown ability, for those unfamiliar with that ability, allows you to gain. You count the number of level 5 and higher monsters you control, and then each face-up monster you control gains 300 attack for each of those monsters, and that's a once per turn ability.
Right.
So it has
a permanent increase as well?
No, it's till the end phase.
Okay.
But you can do it every turn. So it actually creates a weird interaction, especially in a format heavy with 2,400 attack monsters like Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, Red Eyes Zombie Dragon, Red Eyes Black Dragon, where if you're the turn player, you can use Beatdown to get over your opponent's monsters that would otherwise have the same number of attack points, which is why I favor that ability. An ability I'm not quite used to seeing on the competitive circuit is Mind Scan, which is Pegasus' ability that Samsung is using in his final deck. The Mind Scan ability actually lets you look at your opponent's face-down cards.
When I first heard about this when I was playing Duel Links, I find this is borderline cheating. Like, you set your mirror wall, you set your other stuff, and your opponent just goes, "Oh, there's pretty good cards you got there."
Yeah.
I'm just gonna play around that.
Yeah, no, it's really strong, and my favorite thing about Pegasus' Mind Scan ability is it is true to the TV show.
Yep.
He is able to see his opponent's cards by reading his opponent's mind, play around them. However, when he gets weaker, the ability turns off.
There has to be some sort of drawback to that, otherwise that would be a little bit insane.
So if you deal enough damage to Pegasus, he loses that ability. And that deck is not a Red Eyes deck. That's a deck using... it's really just powerful cards, including Enemy Controller, Mirror Wall, 3 copies of each. Sergeant Electro, which I'm if he uses this deck, I'm sure we'll see, which is a good 1600 attack monster that can pin down face down cards.
Very good. The longer you keep it around, if it just even survives one swing of the turn, it can just change the entire match, because not only are you getting your spell traps frozen, you can't put anything else down to protect yourself. So you're actually losing the space in addition to the card.
Yes, and that's also very powerful in this game. Yes.
Alright guys, here we are. We're going over to the table right now, and we should be able to see our characters are loading in. We'll see who our two players, Dkayed versus Samson, have decided to load in first with.
Yes. On the other side of the table, Dkayed is actually not using any Red Eyes deck. I spoke to him yesterday actually on the tour through Tokyo, and he had told me he wasn't able to get the Red Eyes Insights from the Super Joey event that the Duel Links had run recently. So it is not by choice that he's not using Red Eyes. He's choosing not to use Red Eyes without Red Eyes Insight, as that's one of the most powerful cards in the deck.
That must suck. If you acknowledge there's the strongest deck in the format and you've not been able to assemble.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate, but there are ways, there are decks to use to counter it. I've seen a lot of deck out decks in these deck lists. But let's get on to the duel. It looks like Samsung started out with Maximilian Pegasus using the Mind Scan ability. Summons Heavy Knight of the Flame and sets 2 cards to his back row. Heavy Knight of the Flame is really powerful, especially against the Red Eyes deck. So it doesn't surprise me he picked this first, perhaps in anticipation, to use this deck first, perhaps in anticipation of his opponent using Red Eyes. Because when it's a Gemini monster that when it's summoned a second time, it gains the ability to destroy any special summon monster it attacks.
Right, so it becomes like a semi-Catastor from place from the TCG.
For your own turn. So it's really strong because you can use cards like Enemy Control and Mirror Wall, which you use a full suite of 3 for each, to protect it, and then double Gemini summon it, and then it gets through the Red Eye Zombie Dragons, as well as Red Eyes Black Dragons summoned by Red Eyes Insight.
It looks like is that a Toon deck on the Kaiba side? Dkayed side?
It is. He is using a Toon deck with, looks like his Toon deck uses Seto Kaiba with the restart ability. So he's able to send his hand back to the deck to draw a new one if he so chose. This deck is heavily reliant on Toon Kingdom, which he's now searching for with Toon Table of Contents. Toon Kingdom and Toon Table of Contents, while they're not actually limited in Duel Links, you can only get 1 copy of it because it's a level up card from using Pegasus' character. Okay. So this deck lives or dies by Toon Kingdom. So that's the start. He uses Toon Table, gets the Toon Kingdom, activates it by losing 3 cards from his deck, and now he's in business. He's got Toon Summon Skull on the field, which of course is a special summon, so he was able to set a monster, then tribute it for the Toon Summon Skull. Although Toon monsters cannot attack the turn they're summoned, with the exception of Toon Dark Magician Girl, they can attack directly. And now Samsung looks like he might be in trouble. I don't know what his back rows are. There is, unfortunately, there is a way to destroy Toon monsters around Toon Kingdom if it would be destroyed twice in the same damage step.
Yeah, that's actually not the intended thing. There's currently a bug with the card. This is going to be patched out at a later date. However, the patch the players are playing on this error hasn't been corrected as of yet.
Yeah, and it looks like that actually might be what happens now. Oh, but no. Dkayed activates Sphere Karibo, a card you can discard from your hand to switch the attacking monster into defense mode and negate its attack.
Very powerful hand trap in Duel Links.
Yes.
I mean, when it originally was introduced in the game, the big card, it was a huge card in the Relinquish deck as well, because you can banish it from the graveyard as a ritual material.
Yeah, Relinquish has actually fallen out of favor, but Sphere Karibo was still as popular as ever. Dkayed special summons Toon Mermaid, tributes it for Toon Summon Skull, and now he has 2 on the field.
Yeah, part of the anime in me is finding it incredibly strange to see Kaiba attacking with Toons now.
As much as I don't like that, I would prefer he be playing Pegasus. I think it's definitely the correct decision for the World Championship. As you see Pegasus, you might be more likely to think he's playing Toon World.
That's true. Actually, really interesting. The Mind Scan ability almost doing nothing in this match because Dkayed just not setting any cards, so the Mind Scan goes completely to waste.
Yeah, it looks like he does have 1 card in his back row.
But the mind scan switches off when he's below a certain number of
Yes.
life points, right?
Yes. But he wasn't before, so
Oh, of course,
he should know that face down card. Since there is no main phase 2 in Duel Links,
Yep.
you don't have the option of setting in your second main phase as you might have done in the trading card game. So
It's actually amazing how big of a difference that makes with how good some cards are. Like I was talking to you before about the Air Knight Parsaf. I was surprised in Duel Links how that card was not as impactful as it was in the TCG around the same sort of card pool time, just because you can't set the cards that you've drawn.
yeah, it really does. Okay, so here's where we're going to see that happen. Sergeant Electro pins down Kaiba's face down card, so he can't use it. He's going to use Super Rush Headlong, which actually lets him name an attribute and then turn Sergeant Electro into a monster that is able to destroy any monster attacks of that attribute. Then the Metal Morph is going to increase its attack points enough to attack over Toon Summoned Skull. And although on Toon Kingdom, one would think in the trading card game would be allowed to protect the Toon Summoned Skull twice, it can't do it here.
Yeah.
However, all players were well aware that this is how it works.
Before they submitted their deck
Before
listing.
submitting their deck list. And players chose to use Toon Kingdom anyway, with the understanding that they still thought it was powerful enough to justify using it. So it's a strategic decision that certainly factored into all of the players' deck choices. So it is very fair.
Yeah, so going into game 2, because each player has access to 3 of their legendary duelists, so what happens when I win?
Okay, so now, so now Samsung won with his Pegasus Mind Scan deck, right?
Yep.
I believe each of the 2 duelists were given 3 cards to represent the legendary duelists they've chosen. Once they win with a duelist, they turn that card face down, and now they must choose one of their other 2 decks. You basically retire the deck you won with.
Right, so you can't just play my best deck against all 3 of your guys.
Right, so it's not like I can't just run you over with the same Red Eyes deck, the same legendary duelist twice. Now, if you lose, however, you may choose to use the same deck you lost with.
Right, I see. So yeah, if you still think actually you just got unlucky, you've not had that deck taken away from you.
Yes, and it looks like that's what's going on here, as Samsung is using a Red Eyes deck, having now retired his Sergeant Electro, Heavy Knight of the Flame, Mind Scan Pegasus deck, and it looks like he's using the one with the beatdown skill. His opponent Dkayed, however, is continuing to use Kaiba with Toons.
Yep, and we see Toon Kingdom coming straight off the top.
Yep.
And that's going to be a Toon Mermaid.
I think this is going to be over fast because I see Storm in Kaiba's hand.
Oh, yeah.
Or should I say Samsung's hand?
Samsung, yeah.
I don't know if I should refer to them as legendary duelists or the legendary duelists who are here today. But as I mentioned before, this deck needs Toon Kingdom on the field to function. And it has a lot of ways to search for it, including Planet, Pathfinder, Toon Table of Contents, and the card itself. But if it loses the card, it's basically over.
So is there any way for Dkayed to get back his Toon Kingdom?
I don't know, but the duel is over this turn, so it doesn't matter.
There we go, there's a handshake.
Yeah, I don't believe there is a way to get it back, but since Toon Kingdom was destroyed and it counts as Toon Worlds, both Toon Mermaids on the field are also destroyed with Toon World being gone. So Samsung also chained Red Eye Spirit to bring back his Red Eye Zombie Dragon, used the beatdown ability to give all his monsters 300 extra attacks since he controls 1 level 5 or higher monster, and then just direct attacks from all his monsters after summoning the Red Eyes Wyvern is more than enough damage.
Wow, so there's a very, very swift 2-0 right there.
That was very quick. And Duel Links is very quick, and that's part of the excitement of it. It kind of reminds me of old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Fast duels, 4,000 life points, no second main phase, no Link summoning, no Gixi summoning, no Synchro summoning. It's just legendary duelists. Most of their iconic cards are in the game. Yep. So if you enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, if you ever enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh!, I would definitely recommend downloading Duel Links.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things with the Duel Links and the speed of the games, I mean, it can be quite frustrating to lose as quickly as we just saw there, but if you're playing on the rank ladder or something and you just quickly get KO'd like that, you just go, oh, that sucks, I guess I'll re-queue, and then you'll find a duel almost instantly.
Yeah, you match up with opponents instantly. So it's a lot of fun. You can play in ranked, and they actually recently added better card prizes to the ranked system. Previously, it was you needed to rely on random drops from legendary duelists to get their most iconic cards, including Kaiba's enemy controller, which is one of the most powerful cards in Duel Links right now. In the rank system, they have now added prizes for cumulative wins.
Right, to reward you for continuously playing.
Yes, and it's free to play. So if you get to 30 wins, you get one super rare of your choice, dropped from a legendary duelist. 60 wins, you get another one. 100, you get a glossy version.
So I can pick the Red Eyes Insight we were talking about earlier, right?
No. Unfortunately,
that'd be too easy.
Unfortunately, that was an event card. But the events do come back. There was recently a Marek event to unlock Marek. Following that, there was an Elegant Mai event to unlock some of her interesting cards. And I believe a Paradox Brothers event is coming up. And that's one of my favorites because one of the things I like most about Duel Links is the character voices. And as one would expect, everything the Paradox Brothers say rhymes.
That would drive me mad after like 5 minutes.
Oh, I can't turn it off. It's my favorite character to use with all the generic abilities.
Some of the events are like really cool as well because they're not exactly always just the standard matches. Like the Bakura event that came out a while ago.
Yes.
He has his Destiny board.
Yes. Oh, that was a tough one too.
You had to build your deck in a specific way, and whoever created that event on the Konami side, he's a bad person. he liked dishing out pain to the players.
Well, that's what Bakura is all about.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Bakura and Marek.
I suppose it's to the point because he was playing a bunch of cards you can't actually get. So he's like going, here's my Ectoplasma, and you're like, oh, that's a problem.
I forgot one of the characters. I don't remember which it was. It might have been Bakura at a high level. Someone had Sakuretsu armor.
Sakuretsu armor? That doesn't seem fair at all in this game.
You cannot get Sakuretsu armor, at least at this point in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. You cannot use it in your own deck, but some of your opponents will have more powerful cards than you, which add to the challenge, and that's part of what makes it so fun.
Right. Is there anything else left to say in this situation?
Well, that match was really quick. Well, what do you think about his decision to stick with Toons after losing the first duel with it?
Honestly, let's take a look at his other choices of what decks he could have played. Sorry, yeah, you've got Dkayed here. He could have switched over to... He had a Dkayed deck with the Warm Worm. Maybe he should have considered switching to that, going for more of a cheesy strategy after his Toons. I mean, Toons sound, from the way you explained it to me, it sounds incredibly vulnerable at the best of times in this game. Like, it seems like it should be super powerful with your direct attacks, but with the one Toon Kingdom...
Yeah, and I think it would have actually been good to switch to the Deck Out deck because of the fact that he had not yet seen a Red Eyes deck from his opponent. So if his opponent was using a Red Eyes deck, the Deck Out deck actually has a fairly good matchup because of how quickly the deck thins. But he also might have thought that his opponent doesn't have Red Eyes, or he might have started with Red Eyes. So there's a lot of getting into your opponent's head. And not everyone's using Red Eyes. Some of them, I'm sure, by choice, others because they don't have the Insight card. And like I said, it is a powerful deck, but it's not an unstoppable deck. I beat it in ranked fairly consistently, but it is a powerful card. It is a powerful deck.
It's strong, but it's not gonna give you most of your results. I'm actually getting, speaking of which, some results in now. Kodum is up 1 game on table 8 for the main event. And we also have Raphael is up 1 game over Maxime on table 11. I think that's a French player, I believe. This is only round 1, sorry, I've not got the correct pairings in front of me right now.
That's how fast Duel Links went.
Yeah,
the whole round was done
before... They didn't even get a chance to get me the pairings for this event. That's how fast that went.
Still, it was good to see Toon Kingdom. We could take a look at some of the other cards that they chose to use that are interesting.
Sure. So looking at Dkayed, it looks like he's playing a very control-y style deck in one with Meiko Tsunami using the skill Balance. Tell me about Balance. What's Balance do?
Balance is it's a cool skill because all the legendary duelists can learn it. So that's the first thing, and it's particularly cool because it's kind of an ability that the characters have in the show that's never spoken about. With the Balance ability, you always draw cards in your opening hand in a ratio that they're included in the deck.
Right.
So if you're using, let's say, remember in Duel Links you're using a 20-card deck. So let's say you're using 5 spells, 5 traps, 10 monsters.
Sure.
In your 20-card deck, your opening hand is guaranteed to have 2 monsters, 1 spell, 1 trap. And if you're a fan of the show, you see it's very rare that one of the legendary duelists gets an unplayable hand. And the balance ability really makes sure that it happens. So
Okay.
it's one of the more popular abilities. It does not have a lasting effect, much like the restart ability. It's once your hand is your hand, that's it. You're not getting any outside assistance from an ability the way Mind Scan lets you keep looking at your opponent's cards, or Beatdown lets you keep increasing the attack points of your monster. But
So it's a giant consistency
Yes.
skill that you're taking in the early stages of the game to just make sure you actually get started. Because the game goes so fast. I mean, that's sometimes all you need is a bit
Exactly.
of consistency.
exactly, and had Dkayed had an ability like that, balance or restart, to try to get his hand going, might not have been so fast.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be seeing a little bit more from Duel Links later on today as well. We'll get another round.
I think it's worth mentioning also Dkayd's last deck,
the warm-up deck.
the other deck. So his 3 decks are Kaiba using Restart with the Toon deck. That's the one we saw duel twice. He also had at his disposal the Mako Tsunami deck using Balance, which, as I said, any character can use. So that's kind of the
he
character
just picked his
itself is
favorite
irrelevant.
character.
So you can just pick your favorite or one you think might throw off your opponent. And then his last one is a less common one. It's Taya Gardner using Dual Standby, which is interesting because it just gives both players an extra card
Okay.
to start the duel.
That sounds almost bad. I almost don't want to give my opponent the additional card.
Well, he uses it in a deck-out deck.
Okay.
That also plays 3 copies of Cup of Ace, where if you call it incorrectly, your opponent draws 2 cards.
Oh, if you get it right, that's also pretty helpful. Hero Shadow Scout. Wow, I remember seeing these
Yes.
flipped up on me. And
That's old
what was
school.
that, Spell Ruler? Originally for the release?
Maybe. Was it? Wasn't Metal Raiders? I'm not sure.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but
I
it was
remember that.
definitely an old card in the TCG. And it's actually used here in the
World
2017 World Championship for Duel Links. For those who don't know, it's a flip effect that lets your opponent draw 3 cards and send all of the spell cards drawn to the graveyard. So it's really just about getting through your opponent's deck quickly, as decks are between 20 and 30 cards in Duel Links, and generally they're only 20.
And what actually makes that slightly less bad is what it would be in the TCG. Your opponent doesn't get a main phase 2 to actually play those cards if they've attacked into your Hero Shadow Scout.
That's true too.
So then you've got a bit of breathing room before your opponent actually gets to use it, unload those cards onto you.
Yeah, that's true. Your opponent might just pick up 3 cards, and then on your own turn, you might Cup of Ace them to draw the last 2. For them to draw the last 2, or for you to draw cards that will send more cards from your opponent's deck to the graveyard. So that's an interesting deck there, and as I had mentioned already before, Samsung's deck you see, are 2 Red Eyes decks, as well as the Pegasus Mind Scan deck. The 2 Red Eyes decks are different, though.
Is that playing around the ability of the Legendary Duelist?
Of course.
And that's why they've changed it.
Yeah, that's why they are different. If there were no abilities, you want to use 2 of the exact same deck.
Yeah.
Just have a second shot at it if the first one loses. But the restart... let's see. The restart ability is a little... he's able to build a greedier deck with the restart ability because he's allowed to send his opening hand back. So that deck that he's using is actually using 3 Red Eyes Black Dragon, 2 Tribute to the Doomed, Burst Breath, which is a card that requires you to have a dragon on the field to even activate it. Red Eyes Wyverns, Red Eyes Zombie Dragons, Red Eyes Spirits to bring them back, Red Eyes Insight to grab them and send it from the... to grab the essential Red Eyes cards, and then cards of Red Stone to draw, and Champion's Vigilance, which is a trap card that it basically works like Solemn Judgment.
See, counter trap, right?
It's the counter trap, but you have to have a level 7 or higher monster.
Right.
So that's a really good card for a greedy restart deck, because if you draw it without an ability to get the monster out, you can send your hand back and try again. Or if you draw the monster without that, you might want to take some chances to try to get a hand that is a little more secure.
Yeah, you can take a look and go, yeah, that's going nowhere, and just throw it back.
Exactly, and in his deck with Kaiba and the Beatdown ability, that deck doesn't use Champion's Vigilance. It doesn't use... I don't think it uses... No, it doesn't use Burst Breath. It uses... It's more consistent. It uses Kazuki, which is a card that can kick the Red Eyes Zombie Dragon to the graveyard, special summon it from the hand, depending on which effect is activated and when. So it's built more for consistency to capitalize on the Beatdown ability, while the Paradox Brothers Restart version of it is a little more aggressive
Yeah, designed to just play the most powerful cards, even if they're not always the best to have in your hand at any given time.
Right.
Interesting with the Red Eyes deck, if you're interested in actually trying one of those out in the TCG, we've got some more cards coming out for the Red Eyes in the Legendary Duelists pack.
Oh, is
a
that
little bit
right?
Later on, yes. There's some new Red Eyes cards. I've been playing around with that a bit in the office and having a lot of fun with it. Red Eyes Gearfried, and I know Jerome plays an America. He calls it the America deck. He's got Scarred. He's playing the Red Dragon Archfiends, and with his Red Eyes deck, so he fins through, and of course, one level 1 tuner plus Red Eyes makes the Jack Atlas boss monsters.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's always fun because he's had that deck for a few years. He just messes about with it at the World Championships.
You know, I meet a lot of players who like Red Eyes more than Blue Eyes.
It's because it looks cooler, I think, and you
Yeah.
know, I might get shot, and there might be people booing me right now at home. But I think I personally like the Red Eyes. It just looks like, it looks a lot darker, and it's just like, it feels more like a dragon than the Blue Eyes. It just kind of.
I'm more of a Blue Eyes type of fan.
It wins more.
Personally.
I can't argue with the results.
Well, here in Duel Links, it's all about the Red Eyes.
Yeah, well,
Although there are Blue Eyes decks. I don't remember if I saw any in the tournament here. But Kaiba Man is in Blue Eyes, and in Duel Links, rather. You can use it in a Blue Eyes deck. You can use it to summon Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. And 3,000 attackers are pretty hard to defeat.
okay.
So
I think we're done here by the looks of it. So we'll be back soon. Our next feature match should be the Dragon Duel tournament.
Yes.
So stay with us, guys, and we look forward to seeing you soon.